On the aisle. Right, further back, yep. Went to a seminar, really? What'd they say? They said, get happy. Yeah? What'd you pay? $195.
I have a couple of questions, Abraham. One is around a dream about you that I had. I'd like to know what a dream about you means. That'll be my first question, and I'd like to get...
Alignment.
Alignment, got it. And then the second dream, not a dream, but second thing's been going on. Over the years, I've had a few health problems, and two have been life-threatening. One is they call it an AFib, an irregular heartbeat. And I'm pretty at peace with that, and I don't care if it takes me off the planet sitting here at any time. I'm ready to go. But the other one, I also had cancer, and that was about 5 years ago. And how do you get rid of an unconscious belief that drives the fear behind cancer or any other issue?
Really good question, because the difficulty in something like that is the unconscious belief.
Yes.
Because if it's unconscious, then you can't identify when you're doing it, so you can't focus it away. So we have a little issue with even the word unconscious, because we want to say if it's unconscious, then you're not feeling anything around it. And if you're not feeling anything around it, then it's not a big player in your experience.
But I do feel it.
Well, then it's not unconscious.
Oh, got it. Very good.
So if you feel it, then you can lay new pipes about it. But here's the thing. If you try to deal with it when you're feeling it, then all you're doing is perpetuating the momentum that's already there. Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is get on that high-flying disc and then approach it. So stay with us just for really briefly, and then we want to hear you. Can you hold the thought? Mm-hmm. So let's assume that you have found this high-flying disc, and you're pretty good at it. Mm-hmm. And you're feeling so good, and then that thought just sort of wafts across your mind. Not so different from our friend who was flying high, whose plant said, this is a good opportunity for you to do something, to tend to something that you're not tending to. Mm-hmm. So, in other words, something happens that makes you aware that you're having this thought, and you feel the discomfort right along with it. And then you say, because you're mostly still on that high-flying disc, this is a really wonderful time for me to tend to this. We'll give you an example. So the other night, Esther was talking to a really good friend during the day, earlier in the day. And they were talking about flying high. They were talking about feeling good. They were talking about all of these things that we're talking about. And her friend expressed a statement that undoubtedly all of you have felt from time to time. If I just talk about being happy all the time, they're going to think I'm nuts and lock me up. And so she said something that made both Esther and her friend envision being locked up in this room and laughing. And people going by saying, don't pay any attention to them, because they're like, yeah. And don't get too close to the door either. And then, so they began to play with it. And then they were both laughing so much that neither one of them could really understand what the other one was saying. And one of them said something about, yeah, we'll just be happy, and then they'll just slip food under the door. And Esther's friend said, yes, and they'll think they manifested it. And so you had to be there. We cannot possibly, in this much time, get the momentum going to the degree that these girls had this momentum going. But they had this high-flying, happy momentum going. And Esther laughed about it all day long, all day long, all day long, all day long. And then right before she went to sleep that night, she had a conversation with her daughter, and she tried to replay as much of it as she could. And then they laughed about it and laughed about it and laughed about it and laughed about it. So it was in that high-flying vibration that Esther went to sleep.
Yeah.
Momentum.
So
now, wait just a little bit. So then she slept the night, which is the stopping of all momentum, and awakened in the morning. Now, this is the part that we really want you to hear. And the first thought, now she was born again, yes? She was new again. But the first conscious thought that came to her was a thought about Jerry's departure that was the most difficult nugget in all of that, came right into her mind, vividly in her mind. And at first, she was shocked by it because she sure didn't want to start the day there. And then she remembered that we had said, lay new pipes from your high-flying disc. Lay new pipes from your high-flying disc. So within 16 seconds, she regained her composure, regained her awareness that she really is on the high-flying disc, and acknowledged that she doesn't ever have to go back there again. In other words, just by touching it lightly from that high-flying disc, it literally changed the vibrational relationship that she had with something that she had been struggling with for several months. You see what we're getting at?
Yeah, I do. I spend quite a bit of time in the vortex.
It's the power of alignment. It's the leverage of alignment. We are going to let you talk. We just want to say this while they're all right here with us.
Sure.
It's the focusing from there onto something, and like a laser beam, leaving it in a place, never to return to it where it was, because you laid new pipes that were so emphatic. And if it had not been for the depth of the desire contained in that, and then the focus, the step 3 focus in the moment from the high-flying disc, the accomplishment would not have happened. It's like paradigm shift, you say.
Okay.
And you know how Esther knew that she was there? Now she's emptying drawers that she hadn't wanted to empty. She's doing stuff that she's been putting off doing because she needed that high-flying disc on that subject in order to be there.
Got it. No, I understand what you're talking about. But
So apply it to anything.
Pardon?
So apply it to anything.
Well, let me give you a couple examples where I had the challenges. When I had the surgery, I did not do chemotherapy or radiation.
All right, so we don't want to talk about,
Yeah,
we don't
no.
want to talk about it. We don't,
Let me give the other example. When I get a symptom sometime, a growth or something, it'll take my mind back to it, to where it was before, when I had the surgery. So when I get into the vortex, it'll pull me right out of the vortex instead of staying in it. So even I'm in that high-flying disc most of the time, a lot of time.
What we're saying to you, and it's a little difficult for you to hear, and we're hearing you completely.
I know you are.
And Esther, having lived through something so much like that, and then finding a resolution that was so extraordinary, makes us want to explain that to you. In other words,
Yes.
you can continue to do the things that you've been doing until the cows come home. And nothing much is going to change.
Right.
But when you try this for a little while, in other words, get on your high-flying disc. Here's the thing that we want. We think the best discussion that we've had today in relationship to this really important thing that we want to convey to you, that fleshes out so clearly the experience that we just explained that Esther just lived, was our friend talking about being on her high-flying disc and dropping something. Because she dropped it in the middle of the high-flying disc. So everything she did while that was happening was clearing and beneficial. And so we just don't want you to do any more work unless you're on the high-flying disc. We want your work to be to get on the high-flying disc and then. In other words, because there's so much more power in it. There's so much more power in it. We've been teaching you to be deliberate thinkers, and we've been teaching you to focus. And of course, you do that naturally without any instruction from us. But when you are feeling good because you choose to feel good, when you're feeling good because you choose to feel good, then in that practiced vibration, the inspiration to all things that you might have formerly called resolutions, that you might call healings, the path to those will light up for you.
Oh, great.
And you don't have to go back and weigh the pros and the cons of any methodology that you did choose or didn't choose.
Right.
The perfect path will occur to you from that high-flying disc.
Got it. Well, you answered 50% of it with another person of what I was thinking about. The other part of that, too, is that when that does happen, the symptom does come and it does get my attention.
You've fallen out of an airplane. You have no parachute. Hang on, it'll be over in a little while. because when you don't say what you mean, the universe hears what you mean.
Right.
So that efforting... Yep. That efforting is counterproductive. Is this starting to make some sense to you? That efforting is counterproductive. There's a whole school of thought that opposes this philosophy that says you need to deal with things or they get bigger. And we say dealing with them makes them bigger.
Right.
So we're not saying don't deal with stuff. We're saying just get your footing before you focus. Because when you're on that high-flying disc and you focus, not only do you get fabulous results, but you have fun along the way.
So let me ask you then, when Esther took a look at this thing when she woke up in the morning, what was the realization that she had?
Well, it just wafted to her mind. It was like dropping something. It was like she didn't go looking for it. It was exactly as if the source within her delivered to her a thought, knowing that this was the perfect time to leave it in a different place.
So what you're telling me is to continue to get into the vortex, period.
Get there
That's the bottom line.
and milk it and stay there and then follow the impulses. And you won't find yourself applying no action. You won't find yourself being inactive. You won't find yourself just pretending like something isn't. The important things will come to your mind. The path of least resistance will open clearly for you. It will be a comfortable, easy, joyful path.
Got it. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. Best discussion ever.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.